Welcome to From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. On today's show, we're going to talk about sports, entertainment. We're going to talk about current events, family, and faith, and how those things collectively or separately can affect our lives. Let's get it. Welcome back to the show. Before I get started today, I want to take some time to show my thanks and appreciation for the supporters of the show and the supporters of me and the things that I'm trying to do here. As I reflect on my career and my life, the one thing that I have to always be grateful and thankful of is that God has really and truly blessed me. People always ask me how I'm doing in the course of the day, and I jokingly say that if I were any more blessed, I'd be twins. And I truly mean that because without God in my life, none of this would be possible for me. And that's actually how I met Leon Thomas and the Leon Thomas Group and how all this got started. So, on today's show, I'm going to entitle this show The Professors because I am someone who's been in sport management for a very long time. And the two gentlemen that I'm going to introduce today are members of that sport management fraternity. The first individual that I'm going to introduce you today is someone who is very close to me, near and dear to my heart. His name is Joe Meade. And Coach Meade was my men's basketball coach at Lehman College. Joe Meade is a regional college scout for the Utah Jazz. He's a professor of sport management at Post University who specializes in sport event and facility management and sports administration. He's a director of hoop skills, basketball instruction, and he is retired NYPD officer. Please, everyone, welcome Mr. Joe Meade. Coach,
Hey,
what's
what's up,
going on?
buddy?
What's going on with you, buddy? How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, man. It's great to see you, and I'm so happy to be here on the show.
Coach, man, if everybody could understand that you and I go back to 1998 and that you've been a integral part of my life for since that time, it's just amazing. And I'm so happy to have you here with me, Coach.
Hey, bro, you're making us proud every day. I'm so happy that you're doing well, and it's so great to catch up and know that you're doing well, and your career is really taking off.
I appreciate that. And Coach, I got a little something for you, man. A little surprise, a little blast from the past.
Uh
Got a
oh,
little got a little photo for you, buddy. Can we There he is. There,
nice.
there he is. That was one of the times, Coach, when we came in and we were doing some recruiting, and we put the squad together and invited you up in White Plains, New York, and we had dinner that night, and it was an amazing time, Coach. You remember that?
I remember that night well. We had a terrific time. It was a great turnout, and we need to do it again soon.
We will. We will, Coach. But let me now bring in our second guest, Coach, that will chop it up with us a little bit. We're going to bring in Dr. AJ Anderson. He is assistant professor at Bowie State University in sport man. He's also the sport management coordinator, former athletic administrator, former Pittsburgh Pirate assistant to the director of scouting. Can everybody please help me welcome Dr. AJ Anderson?
Hello,
Dr. Anderson, what's going on with you, buddy? What's going on?
man. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on the show. So I'm blessed to be in presence of greatness here. I got two gentlemen here that are awesome. So I'm excited about the show today. So
Well, I'm excited because I get to tell Coach Meade what to do. Because for a lot of practices, Coach Meade, he was fair, but he was tough. He was tough at Lehman College, and learned a lot about basketball there with him. And speaking of basketball, Coach, I wanted to talk to you about this. You are a regional scout for the Utah Jazz. You look at a lot of college basketball games. You're involved with helping the Jazz select players and involved in that NBA piece. Last week was the uh, NBA trade deadline. Coach, in your experience and your expertise, who are the winners and losers of that trade deadline, Coach?
You know, as a Knicks fan, I thought the Knicks did well picking up Josh Hart. And, when they added Jalen Brunson, that was a great piece for them. So I like to cover my home team first. But, the big trade, the big talk was, the Nets trading Kyrie to the Dallas Mavericks and Kyrie Irving joining Luka Doncic in Dallas. And that's a pretty dynamic duo. So that'll be interesting to see how they work together. And of course, Kevin Durant going to the Phoenix Suns to play with Devin Booker and Chris Paul is going to give them three really dynamic scorers and players to see if they can get over the hump in the West. So I thought there was a lot of interesting trades. I believe 25 out of the 27 teams actually were involved in some kind of trade. So it was a very active trading deadline. And it's tough to say who the winners and losers are right now because a lot of the trades included draft picks. So it's really the teams that picked up the draft picks, the future picks. It's really going to be up to them to make good choices and see if they can turn their franchises around with some of the younger talent coming out of the college draft this year.
Okay.
And future
I'm
years.
sorry. Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, this year and in future years, a lot of them are down the road. The picks are 2 and 3 years out. So a lot of it is, gonna land wherever they land based on the picks and how they project.
Okay. And Dr. Anderson, you were a football coach.
yes.
And an athlete yourself. You and I talked. Your team is the Brooklyn Nets, and one thing that I wanted to ask you, Dr. Anderson, is, hey, they put the big three together, right? And it imploded. Okay.
Yeah.
As a fan, what are your thoughts about that? No James Harden, no Kyrie, no KD. How do you feel about that as a Nets fan?
Well, I'll tell you, just over the past 2 years, I've become a Nets fan, and we actually have a partnership with Bowie State Sport Management and the Brooklyn Nets organization. We do have a partnership, so I've really become a big fan of the Brooklyn Nets, and just the individuals in their organization have been great, amazing people. Just to be able to share the knowledge of the sport organization to my students, and they've just done a great job. But yeah, I think whenever they brought in Harden, Kyrie, as well as KD, everyone thought that, all right, this is great, they're going to go win an NBA championship. But that doesn't always work that way, and I think moving those pieces, getting some younger pieces. I think Bridges is a heck of a basketball player, and Cam Johnson. I'm a North Carolina fan too, so Cam Johnson came from North Carolina, so I followed him from when he went to Phoenix, and so I'm excited about what the Nets have, and a lot of draft picks. Being able to trade Kyrie, or not Kyrie, but KD. They had got a lot of draft picks along with the players, so I'm excited to see what their future holds. So,
and before we move to the next topic, Dr. Anderson, I was looking at your LinkedIn page the other day, and Bowie State is doing some amazing things there. You just received a $5 million fund award from the Department of Education. And the photo that they're showing right now is a group of black educators, male black educators that are part of the program, and the award that the students are receiving right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that in that DC area?
Yeah, so my colleague who really runs this program is Dr. Julius Davis, and he is really passionate about young black male educators. And we look back, and I look back to my childhood days in elementary and middle school and even high school, where there weren't many African American teachers. There weren't many black teachers that we saw, and I know I didn't have any coming up through the ranks. And this was an initiative that Dr. Davis had, and he's really been pushing forward with this with his initiative here. And he was granted this $1.5 million funds for this project. So there was 12 institutions, and we were the only HBCU that were awarded this fund. So this is extremely great. So just working with the youth. So he's been able to work with the youth, get into the elementary schools, and bringing some of these students on campus to Bowie State has been amazing. So trying to serve as a leader and instill that education and be a teacher into the young students, because sometimes they may not feel that that's a career path that was meant for them coming out of DC, Baltimore area. So it's great. We're blessed, and Dr. Davis has done an amazing job in representing Bowie State.
Well, that's amazing. And Coach Meade, you have been a part of my life for most of my life, and you've been a part of my teammates' lives, young African American men. You are an educator. You are a professor at Post University. What does it mean to you as a coach and as an administrator to have more black men in educator roles? And how have you inspired us, Coach Meade, to move on as educators in this profession?
Well, first, let me congratulate Dr. Anderson on that grant. It sounds like a great opportunity. And, as a guy who grew up in the inner city, and a lot of the kids that I taught were African Americans when I coached and taught at Salesian High School, when I coached at Lehman College. A lot of those kids, they need role models. They need people that understand the culture. They need people that look like them. I think they need, more young male blacks educators in their life, and I think that's a really important step, for the whole education system in our country. I believe that's an important role. It's a big job to go into a classroom and to educate people. You really have to make a connection with them, and whether it's an emotional connection or you have some similarities and some things, you try to find that common thread that you can share and connect with each student. And I think, for African American students, it's I think it'd just be a little bit easier if they looked like them and they had a similar background. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. And I hope there's more of those grants available and more programs just like that that'll go nationwide.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yes.
And just before we go to break, I have a really quick question that I have to ask each of you. Junior's cheesecake, yes or no?
Go ahead, Doctor. You go first.
I will say yes. I am a big cheesecake fan. Now, my wife makes amazing cheesecake, and she actually
Shout out to the wife.
Yes, Mrs. Anderson is awesome. But we were up in New York City last year, and we actually went to Junior's, and it was great. Honestly, it's kind of overwhelming when you see all the different kinds of cheesecake. It was great, and she's also actually had it mailed to us, and so I'm a fan. I'll be
Okay.
honest. I'm a fan.
30 seconds, Coach Meade. Junior's cheesecake, yes or no?
I'm a big fan of Junior's. You know, I don't know if you guys have been to Barclays, but they actually have a Junior's cheesecake concession stand.
Yes, they do.
At Barclays Center. So, I mean, it's not cheap. You can get a slice, but it's well worth it. So every time I get down there, I try to grab a slice while I'm in town.
All right. All right. Well, you're watching from the AD's view. We'll be right back after this break.
Renting is everything. It's style at your doorstep, off the runway and into your closet. It's every trend you've been dying to try and every designer you've yet to discover. It's wearing it your way every time and making it count everywhere you go. It's never worrying about what to wear because something new is always coming your way. That's why renting is everything. New styles, top designers, all for a flat monthly fee. Start your subscription at renttherunway.com.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you the Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What would we do without it?
And back. Welcome back. You're watching from the AD.
I'm Leon Thomas with the Leon Thomas Group. Podcast, virtual events, webinars, streaming shows, and so much more. We want to be your partner in all things virtual.
There we are. Welcome back. Welcome back. Always some technical difficulties going on, but we're moving forward. Welcome back. You are watching from the AD's view. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Before I move back on to our guests, I should say, we're going to be moving the time next Sunday, March 5th, from 6:15 Central to 6:30, and from 7:15 to 7:30 next week, March 5th. So please join us, tune in. And like I said, on today's show, we have the sport management professors. We have Dr. AJ Anderson, and we have my former coach, Coach Joe Meade. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Cedric.
As we move forward, Coach, you have been a youth skills developer since I've known you, Coach, right? And here's the questions that I have for you. How important are the skill development for youth to the game overall, Coach?
You know, I think it all starts with skill development. I think it's something that a lot of coaches underestimate as far as its impact on not just the ability for players to play well, but also to enjoy the game. I think if you spend a lot of time on skill development and really just the basic passing, dribbling, shooting, defense, rebounding, I think it really adds to what the players will bring to the team when they get older, but also allow them to enjoy, playing the game the right way. As you know, I run my camp during the spring break every year up here in Connecticut, the Hope Skills spring break camp. And we generally get 80 to 100 kids. A lot of it are parents looking for cheap childcare when their kids are off from school because they
Right,
need to
right,
go to
right.
work.
Absolutely.
But we take advantage of that opportunity, and we bring in some really good coaches, and we spend the day really teaching kids the basic stuff, things like footwork and ball handling, shooting the ball the proper way, moving without the ball, all of those things that I think are somehow lost in some of the travel leagues and the AAUs and the other programs where they're more focused on trying to win games rather than develop the players' abilities and skills. So I try to get them while they're young and really work on those things. So by the time they're playing at a competitive level in high school, a lot of that is already part of their makeup and their game. So it allows them to grow in other ways because they have the fundamentals down to a science.
Sure, sure. And Dr. Anderson, you are a former coach, right? You are a sport management um, uh, instructor and professor. Football was the thing that you coached. There are skills and developments, opportunities for young people in youth organizations and youth camps and things like that. What are some of the things that you've done, right, in that realm, and how important is it, let's say in football, to have those foundational developmental skills for the students as they come into playing in high school and in college and so forth?
Dr. Brown, I agree 100% with Coach Meade is with these, whether it's AAU or different programs, a lot of the basics, a lot of the fundamentals are missing or forgotten. And whether it's in baseball, football, basketball, individuals who can refine their skills and know the basics, have the basics, will make them better in the future. And I think that's at all sports. And whether I'm running a camp for youth football players, we're going to work on footwork, stances, stance and starts, hands. If you're catching the ball, teaching them how to catch the ball. And those are some fundamentals that a lot of times that some coaches don't teach. So you need to be able to understand how to run correctly, I see it, stances, starts, catching the ball, taking a handoff, you're a quarterback, just the throwing mechanics. So the basics, the fundamentals are extremely important. They really are. And just continue to hone on those skills and be consistent with those. And that's always been important to me. And I feel like I've been a huge basketball fan of Kobe Bryant, and he's one that I know just
The
always
best,
consistent,
the
just
best.
continue to work on fundamentals. And that was something that I want my students, my players to really have those fundamentals. They get caught up in watching the NBA players and trying to dribble and cross over and do all that, but just get the basics down first. I think
The
that
basics down.
I think that's extremely important.
Absolutely. And something that's equally important to us in sport management and in athletic administration. Last year was the 50th year of the Education Act of 1972, otherwise known as Title IX. And we talked before about this, Dr. Anderson. You and I are in in planning of some consulting, right, within sport management right now. What can we do as athletic administrators and decision makers within sport management and in athletic administration, what can we do to move the needle forward to include women in this industry, right? Male dominated industry. And Dr. Anderson, I'll start with you first.
Well, I think we have to continue to promote women's sports, women athletes, and now I think it's definitely have with 50 years is great, but we still have to continue to move forward as we have more women who are in these predominant roles, and I look at like Amaya Moore, who's actually more of of an advocate, but
Mm-hmm.
there are an activist as well, but we've come so far, but we have to continue to push forward with this. But I think that just providing more opportunities for girls in the youth leagues in high school, and then also continue to promote their sports at the college level as well. I think that's extremely important. And I know with the NIL has been great too. So I know there's a lot of women who have already started to build their brand, which is great
Absolutely.
because that's only
Absolutely.
going to help and enhance their brand and their sport. So I think that is great with the NIL, but we just got to continue to promote that. And I have a young daughter, and I want her to be able to have the opportunities that I had as well. So be able to go and earn a scholarship, and if she does decide to play sports. So I'm excited
Absolutely.
about it.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna let you answer, Coach Meade. And before we leave, we're gonna get to some of the questions that we had. We had one question from Mr. Michael Dean, and he asked the question about what is a good book, Coach Anderson, Dr. Anderson, for a student athlete to read. It says, my son is a football QB and sixth position player in basketball. What are the best books for him to read as a 15-year-old that wants to play Division I? What would you say to that?
Oof. Oh, as I think of books to read, I'll
And what's
be
the best book for parents to read as they're going into this process? And I'll let you answer that also, Coach Meade.
You know what? And I'm gonna be completely transparent and completely honest. I haven't found a book that I thought that was great, and there could be some out there. I haven't had a
Sure.
chance to see that, but honestly, I think that instead of books, I think just being able to talk to individuals and to individuals who are honest with you. I think too many people lie, coaches, they pump you up and say, all right, you can do this, you're a Division I player and this and
Right.
that. But I think that you get out there and go, whether you decide to be in club teams, and if he's a quarterback, then go to camps and see where he stands there, but then just be able to utilize as many resources as possible. And trust me, listen, I'm
Okay.
a resource, so you could always reach out to me. I haven't written a book, but
Right.
I
But
am someone that you can talk to. But there's plenty of other resources that you be able to use just to be able to get some information to help prepare them as they're getting ready for careers post high school, post secondary education. So
okay. And Coach Meade, real quickly on the Title IX thing, Coach, you've been in the business for a long period of time. What can we do to move that needle forward, Coach, to help include our women counterparts in athletic administration and sport management?
In my experience, changing the law is only the first step. And I think back to, like the civil rights movement and the civil rights legislation that came out, you know, it, to try to change the way people feel about certain things, changing the law is really just the first step. And then you have to start changing the hearts and minds of people through consistency of enforcement. And I think that, Title IX is really 50 years. It may seem like a long time, but it's really in its infant stages. I think that as more women progress in sport and have successful careers as collegiates and professionals, the doors will open for more women. And you can see it's starting to change now. The what they used to call the glass ceiling is
Right.
starting to change.
It,
You can see more
absolutely.
women in being involved in professional sports at important managerial levels. So I think changing the law was really the the the
The
jump
first,
start
yeah, yes,
to,
sir.
but now you have to really change the minds of people and how they feel about women in sport. And I think that's really made a lot of advancements in the last 20 years. So I think it's wide open right now. I think the change is going to come. It's happening right as we speak. And as more and more, I a lot of it's like you got to get rid of the old guys like me that are sitting in position and bring in the newfangled guys that come up through a different generation,
Yes, sir.
because it's really kind of like how you feel about people and things, and a lot of that is changing. So as those older guys retire and you get new blood in there, they bring new initiatives and
Yes, sir.
different views on women and management and sport. And I mean, it's changed a lot in my lifetime, and I believe that it's just going to kind of continue to trend up. It's a great time to be a woman involved in sport.
Yes, sir.
There's so many opportunities now, and I
Yes, sir.
think the doors are starting to open because the eyes are starting to open, that the women are more than capable of handling that decision making
Absolutely.
roles. And
Absolutely.
I agree.
as a father of two girls in college, I can't wait to see them, because I think that there's so much opportunity now, and it's just going to get better and better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And before we leave, before we end the show, um, Dr. Anderson, please tell everyone how they can get in contact with you if they would like to speak to you more about some of the topics that we've talked about or some of the amazing things that you're doing at Bowie State.
Yes. So once again, I am the program coordinator at Bowie State University in Bowie, Maryland, the first HBCU in the state of Maryland. So I want to make sure I make that clear there. But I can be reached at my email, which you can see at the bottom of the screen, is ajanderson1@bowiestate.edu. Also, we have our sport management Instagram page, which is it's Bowie State U_SPM. So I always try to highlight things, what our students are doing, what we're doing in the program. So please take a look at it. Follow us, where we are just going to continue to grow, and our students are doing an awesome job. They make my job easy.
I appreciate that, Dr. Anderson, and thank you so much for being with us. And Coach Meade, please tell us how they can get in contact with you if they want to get into hoop skills, or if they just want some advice about sport management, or if they just want some theory about basketball. How can they get in? How can they get in contact with you, Coach?
Yes, definitely. My email is jmeade2873@aol.com, and my website for my camp is hoopskillsbasketball.com. You can contact me, or go on the website, and I'll start posting stuff as our camp continues to put pictures and drills up and things that people can learn from.
Okay. And Coach, as always, sir, I truly appreciate you. You know I love you. You are a man that has been an integral part of my life, and you've been the same yesterday, today, and you'll be the same in the future, because Joe Meade, you are a good man, and you're somebody that I love very much. Dr. Anderson, you and I have just started a union between the two of us, and a friendship, and we're going to start a partnership with this consulting firm, A&B Consulting, A, B, and C, right? So I look forward to the many meetings that we're going to have, and the many things that we can do together through God's grace and His will. And I look forward to that. And gentlemen, both, thank you so much for being on From the AD's View. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Hey, Cedric, it's always great to spend time with you. I miss you so much. And I have fond memories of all those guys that we worked together at Lehman College. And I miss those days. And hopefully we'll get together again soon.
We will. I promise you, Coach. I promise you, Coach. I'd like to thank these guests, Joe Meade and Dr. A.J. Anderson, for coming on with us today at From the AD's View. Remember, you can see us each Sunday night, and we're moving that time to 6:30 Central and 7:30 Eastern for more open and honest discussions about education, sports, current events, family and faith, and how those things separately or combined can affect our lives. Good night and God bless.